Well, it looks like it's beginning to look like Christmas.
Along with the high-tech skills to keep up with the competition at any age. Call
That's why we're offering special home for the holidays rate. Just call 1-800-4CHOICE or go to choicehotels.com to see what the home for the holidays rate is where you're headed. This holiday.
Ya, un dolorón de garganta que tenía antenoche. Y luego, ya ahora me siento mejor, pero estaba tosiendo.
Sí.
Y ahora con la mojada que me di, pues sí sé cómo me va. Ahora que no va a estar la preciosa.
That's the TV.
Sí.
And my mom got this too. Circuit City I'm going to and see what they have on sale here. So I want to see what they got. I may look at getting this right here for $13 because that's a good price there. One example is I came across a Pioneer car stereo with 4 speakers for $100. They were asking for it. That was a good price too. And I had the slight temptation for buying it, but I said, you know, it's like if I already have a stereo that works, why buy it? You know, like if I have a stereo that works, why buy it? You know, I don't need to buy that. I don't need to spend $100 when I don't have to. And then speaking of which, you know, some people just can't resist going in the store to buy all these for sale items, you know. Like this, for an example, this DVD player right here, asking $18 for, and it's a $20 mail-in rebate too. I've seen people buying like 3 or 4 of these at a time. I've seen that today. I'm telling you, it's like, what's the hurry? I found that what's the hurry for that? You know, it's like, some people are crazy, I tell you. Because some people, like, they act like they'll never see that deal again, you know? I know, it's funny. That's funny. It's funny on how they take it, because they think that, they act like if they'll never see that deal again. Only for the stores to have the same price throughout the rest of the year. That's funny on how some people are. And I even seen people buying like at least like a couple of TVs or so at a time. See, I tell you. Like a lot of people buy a lot of things at a time, you know, because they think that it's a really good price. I don't know about them. Well, I'm gonna go home right now. Shitting parking will be a little challenge to get, but I'm just gonna go park far away, so I'm not gonna even bother trying to get.
Can you take this and download it right on your computer and run it on your
No, it just has the analog output.
Okay, that's what we do. The digital. Okay. Thank you.
Everybody's after those, I tell ya. Wind deflector. This batch. I'll write it probably tomorrow, maybe. Man, I gotta find a place for all these papers here. Well, Cynthia's mail there. I don't know why it gets mailed over here.
You got the running game going, or the thought of it running, and the passing game. Cordell Stewart, second last throw by Cordell Stewart. All time! Well, it's right on the CBS first down line.
Yeah.
Well, we eat whenever we eat. We're gonna eat early though. Oh my.
You hit 1,000?
¿Dónde se las toman? Allá en las máquinas, por fuera, ¿verdad?
En el hotel.
En el hotel.
Sí.
Mira qué bien salieron. Nada más una les dieron.
Yeah. Yeah. My second one. No. Not good.
Next.
No, 3, Gilbert, because you hit it up and then it came. Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody make a move?
Relax.
Where happened to your chicken? Your package?
Hi, all of you. This is Gil. So, on this video, I guess I could probably just blog a little just for the fun of it. I know some of you want me to live stream, but I just tend to be lazy and stuff, and I hate that, you know. I mean, I feel bad about it, but I mean, like, to be on the live stream for like 3 hours, you know, but I mean, and then I feel bad and then when I cut it off short. And then when someone had just barely showed up and stuff, you know. But anyway, now I'll try. I mean, I'll try to do one today. But I mean, but anyway. So if I would be talking about like how things were, like going on to November, you know, Thanksgiving, we all remembered. What do you guys remember about Thanksgiving, like the Thanksgiving weekend, you know, on in the 80s? Well, I do remember, I do know that in the Thanksgiving weekend, like in the 80s decade, let's pick out 84, 85, 86, 87, like in the mid 80s, let's pick out. So if I remember, we in my school years, like we had only 4-day weekends, you know, like we had only Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, you know. But now today, my kids typically have a week off now. It's like it's a week off now, like, and that also even goes with the like the spring break, you know, what we used to call Easter vacation. I mean, we used to have a week off, but my kids today in 2019 have 2 weeks off on the winter break. And I think for Christmas or for the winter break, we had 2 weeks off in my days. And then my kids typically have like three weeks, but I don't know how it is right now. But anyway, if I can remember, if I would just talk a little story about what do I remember, like how life was going on to the Black Friday sales and stuff, you know. Well, we have Black Fridays and everything, but how was it like during the 80s? How was this Black Friday thing going on in the 80s? Or how were people in the 80s when it came to like the Friday after Thanksgiving? Well, I don't recall there being any sort of Black Fridays in the 80s, during the 80s decade. But of course, you know, for Christmas, you know, we like, there was of course popular items, most wanted items in the Christmas times, like during the 80s, you know. Like for an example, in 1987, like when my cousin wanted a Sega Master System, and apparently those were pretty popular. But the Nintendo 8-bit system, the Nintendo Entertainment, that was like a very popular item back in the day, you know. So, you know, I mean, that was like a wanted item, you know, for Christmas. And I don't know, I don't recall if those were sold out quickly or anything, because I was a young kid then, you know. But if I can remember, I don't remember it being all hyped up, though, really. I don't remember. Because I was a young kid. I was 17. Well, I was 17 and 16 and 15 years old in the 80s, decade in the mid 80s. But I don't recall seeing all the hype in the Black Friday stuff. Or there was no Black Fridays in the 80s, and not even in the 90s either. There was no Black Fridays. There was no Black Friday hype during those times, you know, like in the not even in the 90s. I think the first Black Friday hype that I ever came across of was like in the maybe early 2000s, you know, that I know of. I know in 2001, on Black Friday 2001, and when my mom, It's like when I moved into the mobile home back in 2001, that's when my mom bought me a DVD player or TV at Walmart for like 90 bucks. It was like a 19-inch TV that they had a big sale going on for $85 at Walmart, you know. That was like the first Black Friday that I can remember of, you know. And then and then going beyond that, you know, going beyond the how we call it, going beyond 2001 and stuff. And then I remember like going on to 2003 and stuff, or four. Well, Black Friday was born in the early 2000s that I know of. I don't know if there was anything earlier than that, but I do know that, I mean, there was no Black Friday hype that I can remember of in the 80s. You know, people were a little more chill. Were definitely more chill in the 80s and the 90s during like the Thanksgiving thing, you know. And the things like after, like everybody, we all stayed with our family. We all visited family and we stayed there. I mean, we were not into the hype, but it's not really so much the way it was. It was because, you know, electronics were expensive back then, so we were not into the electronics hype back then. But we were like, well, we would probably be into the toys like Cabbage Patch Kids, or I mean, but even then, you know, it was not really hyped up back then with things like that compared to what's in the hype today, like iPads and iPhones and GoPros and whatever, cameras, TVs, and I mean, it was not hyped up in the 80s like it is now, But for me, so now these days, you know, like, see, the thing about Black Friday shopping and stuff, I mean, 'cause, like, one thing I learned about Black Friday is, like, we could just chill on these Black Friday things, you know, because, you know, like, some items can be good deals. Like, yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, that's for sure. But the thing is that it's next to impossible to get one, to snag one of those. But, you know, if you didn't snag one, I mean, who cares if you have to spend a little $25 more or $50 more? Who cares? If it's something that you really, really want, just go get it, you know? That's how I feel now. I mean, I don't need to be trampled in line just to try to save $50. You know, come on, man. So, well, that's just me. I mean, for me, I mean, even me, like a couple of years ago, I was wanting to like snag an item that's $50 cheaper or $100 cheaper or whatever. I mean, but you know, these days, I mean, like in the last few years of Black Fridays, I do know that they've been opening up on Thursday now. I mean, in the last few years, they've been opening up on Thursdays. And some of the things that I noticed about that is that it's fewer people. It's fewer people like rushing the doors on Thursday, like when they open up on Thursday in the last few years. So as I could see it, I mean, I mean, in the last few years, I've been able to get a chance at snagging on some of these on deals, you know. Like in the last few years, it's been a little bit easier for me to snag a deal if I was wanting to get a deal anyway. But I mean, one other thing about Black Fridays, though, so one thing that I have to say about them in the last few years, or in the last forever, I mean, from my experience, you know, like Friday, I mean, like we can have the potential to grab a snag a good deal, but the thing is that those items go on sale again anyway. They go on sale like the next month anyway. I mean, for me, I don't feel like why I should be rushed to to save like the money. But the thing is that it's next to impossible to grab a deal when there really is a true deal going on. But I do know that, I do know that in the last few years that I've been able to get a better chance to snag a couple of items, like if I even really was even meant to. For an example, there was last year where they had a massive sale on this drone. I like drones. I like to fly drones, I was able to snag a GPS drone like the size of a DJI Phantom 3, like the ones that I used to have. I was able to snag one of those GPS drones, and it looked like a professional drone, or it was something that cost like $130 regular price, and they had it for sale for $69, and I was able to snag one of those, right? So I got one of those, and so later on I opened it up and I flew it, and I didn't even really like the drone because it didn't operate really nicely, It didn't operate good at all. I didn't like, well, of course, it was a cheaper price drone, but later on, and then it's funny because supposed to be the regular price was $129, and I got it for $69, but like 2 weeks later, after this massive sale on this drone, for this example, it's like 2 weeks later, I was still seeing them in the store, in Walmart, for the same price. I was still seeing them for $69, along with other items too. But of course, like the things, like the popular items such as GoPros or iPads, of course, they're gonna be gone, and then they'll go back to the regular price and everything. Well, those are really difficult to snag on the Black Fridays, But I would say, but even those items will go on sale like later on. It's only the popular items, the ultra popular items, that are hard to snag in the Black Fridays. But it's like, even then, only a couple months later, they're gonna go back on sale again. A lot of times they do, or But if I would go back to the 80s, like 80s and 90s, I don't recall any Black Friday hype. There was no Black Friday hype in the 80s or 90s decade. There was no Black Friday. We all just chilled, We all chilled at the house, visiting family, because all stores were closed on Thursdays. Well, of course, they would open on Friday, but what do I remember? I don't remember any Black Friday hypes during the 80s, especially, Well, people were more chill back then, In the 80s, people were more chill in the 80s, like about the shopping for Christmas. But I think that, I don't know, I can't remember, but I think there probably might have been, but I just don't recall. I don't recall because because we did not used to go out. I think I heard about a story about the Cabbage Patch Kids. I think I saw a story where like a store had a massive sale on those things, and it was kind of like a Black Friday thing, like where people rushed in line and rushed to the department where those Cabbage Patch dolls were at, and people got trampled by those. I don't know, by trying to snag one. I think I heard a story like that before. But I might have heard a story like that, but that's the only story that I know of, I heard of, but there's no other stories that I know of that I can remember of in the Black Friday 80s, because there really was no Black Friday hype in the 80s, Now, to talk about a little story about the things that I got for Christmas of 84 and 85 and 86, I guess. Well, in 1984, well, that's the year that, well, if I can remember in my kid mind, what was like the big wish list, what was on my wish list for Christmas of 84, or like if we were gonna shop for Christmas. My wish list in 1984, if I remember, it was a computer, the Atari. It was like I wanted a Commodore 64, in 1984. Me and Arnold, since the computer was on the higher price item, it was between me and Arnold that wanted the computer together. So like my dad and my mom can buy both of us together as one gift. And then another thing on my wish list, I think, well, Atari games. I had the Atari 2600 and I wanted more games for it. And then I guess I wanted money. And I mean, I think my main wish list was a computer, this Atari computer. And then at Atari games and cassettes. I wanted cassettes in 1984. You know, that was my wish list. But of course, my ultimate wish list was a video camera. I wanted a video camera, but I knew that was out of the question, and I knew that there was no chance of getting one. So forget about the cameras, video cameras. I knew I was not going to get one because $1,300. You know, no way my dad was going to pay $3,000 in 2019 dollars to buy me one of those. You know. Well, anyway, that was out of the question. So I just wanted a computer. You know. I wanted an Atari. Well, I wanted a Commodore in 1984. I mean, that was my wish list. And for Arnold, I guess the same thing. Arnold, our wish list was like clothes or like games for the Atari, or maybe an Atari or a Nintendo, or something, if some of us were able to afford it. Well, Nintendo was not even on my wish list because I was not all that much into games. But Nintendo was barely new in 1984, so I don't think we would have had a chance. But I was not really interested in one that back in the time. But I know it was popular. It was popular then, you know. In 1985, if I can remember, the only thing that was on my wish list in 1985, it was a VCR. We wanted a VCR. It was all three of us, me, Hector, and Arnold. We all went together and we wished for a VCR for Christmas. So my mom bought us one at Zodi's. It was this multi-tech brand. It was like this off-brand VCR that we got. It was our first VCR, $229 at Zodi's. At the time, that was pretty low price too. At the time, because the average price, a typical price for a pretty decent VCR was like $300 minimum. But for something nice, it was like $449 or something like that, for something really nice. And my mom's coworker recommended her buying the $449 VCR with all the nice slow motion features and remote control and stuff, you know. And my mom wanted to get one of those, but it was a little bit too much for her, you know, to save $450 because, you know, you figure that in 2019 dollars, that's equivalent to almost $1,500, you know, for that VCR, you know. So my mom was able to afford the $229 one. She was able to buy that one. She had to go cheaper, but I was still happy though. I mean, I was still happy to receive that VCR for Christmas. I was ultra happy with that, you know, because we had always wanted a VCR, and that was like a wish list for like dating back to like the early 80s. I wanted a VCR, you know. We wanted a VCR dating back to the early 80s. It was my wish list dating back then. Oh yeah, like in 1984, we would have loved a VCR too, but that was kind of out of the question too, because it was pretty expensive, and my dad was not gonna want to pay like $400 or $500 for one, you know. Of course, it was on my wish list too, but I knew that those were kind of out of the question in my little 13-year-old or 14-year-old self, you know. So in 1984. Then in 1986, well, I think my wish list was probably a new Atari computer, maybe, or maybe I wanted a new Commodore or something. I wanted a new computer or something, or I wanted a stereo. I wanted a new shelf stereo system. I wanted a new one, you know, because, yeah, that was my wish list for Christmas of like 1986. I wanted a new stereo, a shelf stereo. When I had my bike, you know, I bought on my birthday of 1986. I mean, I wanted a shelf stereo system. I wanted a new one. I had my old one. I had my Sound Design brand which was getting old, or I just wanted a new one. I wanted a really nice new stereo system, a new shelf system, you know. Or I wanted to at least get some new speakers, you know. I wanted to get speakers for the stereo. But the shelf system was one thing that I was really wanting one of those. But the ones that I wanted was like $150, you know, back in the day. I really wanted one of those, but I just didn't have the money for it. I mean, I didn't have $150 back then, because the only way I was able to get money on $150 was to wait for my birthdays back in my day, you know, birthdays and Christmases. But I received only $75 for my birthday, and I needed $150 to buy this cool shelf system. So then my mom gave me the idea to buy a bicycle. And then I went with it, you know, and then since then, that's when I first started liking bikes, you know. And it's since that day, that's like when I first started riding bikes, you know, being into bikes. And to this day, I'm into bikes from that day, you know. To this day, 2019, from 1986. Imagine that, you know. So, got the bike. But anyway, I mean, and then that blew all my money, and so I had no chance of buying any more items, you know. But I know my wish list in 1986, you know, like, what was my wish list? Well, of course, you know, I wanted a new computer. I wanted a new computer, and I wanted a new rack system, or not rack. It was not a rack stereo. It was a shelf. I would have loved to have one of those, but I think that my feeling for the shelf system kind of faded away a little bit, you know. So, but I was now wanting a new computer, a new Atari or whatever. I wanted a new computer, you know. I mean, that was my wish list in 1986. And then, of course, I would have loved to have a video camera. I wanted a video camera, and they had this Sony camcorder going. They had this Sony camcorder, like a very stripped down model, like where it was a fixed lens, no zoom or nothing, but it was a video camera that they're asking $650 for at the time. And I would have loved to have one of those, but I knew that it was out of the question, you know. I knew that way out of the question for me to ask for one of those, and I knew I was not going to get one, you know. So that, well, that's out of the question. So I wanted a new Atari computer, or I just wanted a new computer. That was my wish list in 1986, you know. And then, you know, like, I don't remember like what was popular. Well, I know that Nintendo was popular back in the day. Nintendo 8-bit systems. Well, we had Atari, and we had my Atari and stuff, you know. I was like into that, and that's about it, you know. I mean, now going on to 1987, like that's when I got my job at the coffee shop in 1987, and then but now the light at the end of the tunnel finally showed up where I got the job at the coffee shop, and my biggest wish list was a video camera, to buy a full-size VHS camcorder, which I was going to be able to do pretty soon. But the thing was that I had to save my own money to buy it. Well, I was not going to receive one of those for Christmas, because nobody was going to buy one. So, I mean, I had to save up on my own, that $3 an hour, $1,000, you know, like very few people were able to. Well, I would like to know of anyone who received a video camera for Christmas for the 80s decade. Probably almost nobody, like probably nobody in the entire world probably received one of those for Christmas, you know. I'll tell you that much. I tell you. So that's how things looked in the 80s, you know, like that's how it looked. That's how the wish list looked in the 80s. But now, what does the wish list look like in today? What does my wish list look like today? Well, my wish list as of today, it's gonna be on my wish list, it's I like these DJI Mini, like Mavic Mini that just came out, this drone. I like the Fly More package or Fly More combo. They just came up with that, and that's kind of like on my wish list. A DJI Mavic Mini Fly More. That's my wish list. But I mean, right now it's a little bit hype. People are a little bit hyped on that drone right now because on eBay, I mean, the price of that DJI Mini Mavic Mini Fly More package or combo, it's $4.99. That's the actual price for it. But on eBay, there people are bidding, are kind of like getting crazy on the bidding wars on those because it just barely, it's stuck getting overhyped with this DJI Mini that just came out. People are becoming a little overhyped by these things, you know. And so like right now, I mean, I'm seeing bids passing $600 for one of these things, you know, like, you know, I mean, it's just like when the new PlayStation or the new Xbox 360 came out. If you remember those days, it's like that. I mean, like people are a little overhyped to buy those to buy things like that. Yeah, you know. Well, anyway, so today's wish list. On my wish list, it's like it's that DJI Mavic Mini Fly More combo, and also what's on my wish list, it's a GoPro 8. It's a GoPro Hero 8 or 7. You know, that's on my wish list now, and I want to look into buying one of those, but I don't know when I'm gonna buy one. But I mean, I have to pay cash for these things because I don't have credit cards anymore, you know. So, well, anyway, that's on my wish list. But I mean, for me, I don't have to have it. I don't have to have it right now because I'm happy with the current stuff I have now. I mean, for now. I mean, but I want to eventually get that GoPro 8 or 7. I want to eventually get one of those, you know. And what are other things that what are on people's wish lists these days? What's on your wish list, or what's on you guys'? What's popular like right now? What is popular right now, like for you guys? What's popular for you, especially younger crowd? So I do know that on my kids' wish list, I think their wish list is probably like it's probably gonna be like, you know, how we call it, like maybe earbuds, you know, Apple earbuds, or I think that's about it. I mean, my kids, I mean, I think they're into like maybe like what do we call it? I know like my bigger kid likes shoes, likes clothes, like I mean, yeah, I mean, but a typical thing of today, the typical thing of youngsters' wish list would probably be PlayStations and Xboxes and maybe like iPad. Well, I think iPhones and Galaxies, Samsung Galaxies, I would guess. I mean, or maybe Apple Watches or things like that. And like that's typical wish list of today. So I mean, well, anyway, my wish list is a DJI Mavic Mini Fly More combo and a GoPro 8. I don't know when I'm gonna get one, but I mean, I know that I tend to want to kind of like walk away from all the hype, you know, of the Black Friday stuff. I tend to want to just walk away from it, you know, like clear my mind, just keep my mind free, you know, keep my mind like, how we call it, like without all the drama. I want to keep the drama out of my mind, you know, by just walking away. I just want to walk away from, just go out for a bike ride or something, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to see. Okay, well, I hope you liked this video. So, I mean, I'll talk to you again soon. So, alrighty.